I'm
you
actually
mean
caught
in a few minutes' time when we're ready to start?
Yeah,
Okay, we'll do.
you're very good.
And can somebody tell me where we are? Because I haven't got my book with me.
What edition are you? Whose edition are you using?
It is
No, sorry, Lois. I'm going to be on.
You're reading it online, Kindle.
Yeah.
There's a touch of the artist about Old Bloom.
actually today, and I may have gotten it wrong. Today we start with the lackey by the door of Dylan's auction rooms shook his handbell twice again.
Sorry.
Is it the lucky?
Oh, yeah.
Section,
I have that marked.
section 11. Section 11.
Okay. All right. And
Okay.
lackey is spelled L-A-C-Q-U-E-W.
It's section 10.
Okay.
10?
Oh,
I will see you in a little while.
Okay.
Enjoy.
Sylvia, it's episode 10.
Are you? That's
No,
what we finished
but
that. So we're starting 11.
Not if we're starting at the lucky door.
Yeah, I'm just gonna.
Oh,
do this.
mine has a different numbering. Oh, okay.
oh, how are we spelling lucky? Lucky.
L-A-C-Q-E-Y. Q-U-E-Y. L-A-C-Q.
Hi,
instead of a
James.
K.
Hi everybody. Hi Anne, how are you?
Hi.
The
I just
lucky-
add you in there.
Let us see if I can get that. No, the lackey by the door of Dylan's auction rooms. Is that where we are?
Yes.
And
Okay.
about 6 lines down from that, the lackey lifted his handbell and shook it for rang. So
What episode was that?
Where's that?
that's done it.
Yeah, I was just asking what episode we're in, because I can't find the lackey where I stopped last week.
So, Jim, when did you become James?
I guess if I changed my phone,
Yeah.
I have a new phone. Now there was nothing wrong with the old phone, but it got wet. I had to get the screen changed because the screen didn't work because it was old. 2018 is old.
Wow.
It took 11 days before I found a guy, an Indian guy, who sent away to God knows wherever for a screen and was able to put the screen back in and get it working. So I said, before it breaks down again, I better buy a new screen because to transfer all the data from the old phone to the new screen, the new phone, the screen must be working. Hence, I've somehow become James. Please call me Jim.
And Sullivan without an A.
You are, Jim.
Sullivan without a what?
Without an A.
Oh man, this is getting crazier.
I used to be a proofreader.
I think what's happening is I have a Google. I believe I have a Google account, a Gmail account that I set up about 100 years ago, and I think when I set it up, I accidentally misspelled my name, and it wouldn't allow me change somehow.
Yeah. Google
As far as I
never-
can recall, if I can change my name back to Jim O'Sullivan, I will.
Maybe
so
you
that's
were on the lam hiding from the law.
and the lamb. God, it's a long time since I heard that expression. Yes. No, you can't hide anywhere now on the internet, unfortunately. Or fortunately, the case may be.
Exactly. Can we go, Jill?
We just hold on, just ask Donna there. Donna wants to say something.
I'm lost. I can't find where you are. Can you tell me what episode you're in?
It's on page 213 of the Wordsworth edition. The lackey by the door of Dylan's auction rooms.
Yeah, but that's no good to me because
Wandering Rocks.
Wandering Rocks.
Wandering Rocks.
Wandering Rocks. Okay, that's episode 12.
And it's about 10 pages in.
Okay, thank you.
It's exactly the how. Oh no, I won't say that.
Oh yeah, because we're doing the small sections.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay,
Exactly.
good. Thank you.
Okay, man. So
You're welcome.
Right. Well, there you go. I'm going to say the magic words in the absence of Duncan. I can't remember them, but I'll say them anyway. So, welcome to everyone out there in video land. If you're watching us, we are on the Scylla and Carapatus, beg your pardon, we're on Wandering Rocks episode. Page 2 and 3 of Wordsworth. The lackey by the door of Dillon's auction room shook his handbell. So we'll start here. I'll start. The lackey by the door of Dillon's auction rooms shook his handbell twice again and viewed himself in the chalked mirror of the cabinet. Dilly Daedalus, listening by the curbstone, heard the beats of the bell, the cries of the auctioneer within. 4 and 9. Those lovely curtains, 5 shillings, cosy curtains, selling new at 2 guineas. Any advance on 5 shillings? Going for 5 shillings. The lackey lifted his handbell and shook it. Bang! Bang of the last lap bell spurred the half-mile wheelmen to their sprint. J.A. Jackson, W.E. Wiley, A. Munro, and H.T. Gahan, their stretched necks wagging, negotiating the curve by the college library. Mr. Dedalus, tugging a long moustache, came round from Williams Row. He halted near his daughter. "It's time for you," she said. "Stand up straight for the love of the Lord Jesus," Mr. Dedalus said. "Are you trying to imitate your Uncle John, the cornet player? Head upon shoulders, melancholy God." Dilly shrugged her shoulders. Mr. Dedalus placed his hands on them and held them back. "Stand up straight, girl," he said. "You'll get curvature of the spine. Do you know what you look like?" He let his head sink suddenly down and forward, hunching his shoulders and dropping his underjaw. "Give it up, father," Dilly said. "All the people are looking at you." Mr. Dedalus drew himself upright and tugged again at his moustache. "Did you get any money?" Dilly asked. "Where would I get money?" Mr. Dedalus said. "In Dublin would lend me 4pence. "You got some," Dilly said, looking in his eyes. "How do you know that?" Mr. Dedalus asked, his tongue in his cheek. Mr. Kiernan, pleased with the order he had booked, walked boldly along James Street. Katrina.
I know you did that, Dilly answered. Were you in the Scotch house now? I was not then, Mr. Dedalus said, smiling. Was it the little nuns taught you to be so saucy? Here, and he handed her a shilling. See if you can do anything with that, he said. I suppose you got 5, Dilly said. Give me more than that. Wait a while, Mr. Dedalus said threateningly. You're like the rest of them, are you? An insolent pack of little bitches since your poor mother died. But wait a while. You'll get all a short shrift and a long day from me. Low guardism. I'm going to get rid of you. Wouldn't care if I was stretched out stiff. He's dead. The man is upstairs. He left her and walked on. Dilly followed quickly and pulled his coat. Well, what is it? He said, stopping. The lackey rang his bell behind their backs. Barang! Curse your bloody blatant soul, Mr. Dedalus cried, turning on him. The lackey, aware of comment, shook the lolling clapper of his bell, but feebly. Bang! Mr. Dedalus stared at him. Watch him, he said. That's instructive. I wonder, will he allow us to talk? You got more than that, Father, Dilly said. I'm going to show you a little trick, Mr. Dedalus said. I'll leave you all where Jesus left the Jews. Look, there's all I have. I got 2 shillings from Jack Power, and I spent 2pence for a shave for the funeral. Next, please.
Drew forth a handful of copper coins nervously. Can't you look for some money somewhere, Dilly said. Mr. Dedalus thought and nodded. I will, he said gravely. I looked all along the gutter in O'Connell Street. I'll try this one now. Very funny, Dilly said, grinning. Here, Mr. Dedalus said, handing her 2 pennies. Get a glass of milk for yourself and a bun or something. I'll be home shortly. He put the coins in his pocket and started to walk on. The vice-regal cavalcade passed, greeted by obsequious policemen out of the park gate. I'm sure you have another shilling, Dilly said. The lackey banged loudly. Mr. Dedalus, amid the din, walked off, murmuring to himself with a pursing, mincing mouth, the little nuns, nice little things. Oh, sure they wouldn't do anything. Oh, sure they wouldn't really. Is it little Sister Monica? Do you want me to stop there?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm muted. Who's the lackey with the bell?
Well, he's
Is that something?
employee of Dylan's. And he
Okay.
rings the bell outside because there's an auction underway. So he's just there. But whose curtains are
And is that where Mr. Dedalus is coming from when he comes along Williams Road?
No, isn't Williams Road is the little lane along the side of it. He's coming from the Oval Pub.
He's coming from the pub.
Yeah, it'd be straight across the road and down the lane. But why is Dilly waiting there? You know? Don't know. Question arises sometimes. Are they the Daedalus's curtains that are being auctioned off?
Oh, maybe.
Yeah, I was thinking that, all
Yeah.
right.
Mm.
You know,
Yeah.
ink is spilt and no agreement reached. You know, like the two Daedaluses are there, but they don't seem to be interested in going in to get the money for the curtains. Or maybe he's trying to shake off Dilly, and then he'll go in and collect. But they're certainly not buying curtains. You know, they're so.
Yeah. But later on, Joe, when Mr. Dedalus is going into the Ormond Hotel doesn't he take a fiver out of somewhere that he has stashed?
I think you're
Does
right.
that
Yeah,
sound-
it rings a bell, all right. But he certainly seems to have more money than he tells Dilly when he by the time he reaches the next drinking hole down the quays. But whether that's the curtains or not, you can go either way.
Anyone's guess.
But the curtains are going for a song, you know, they're going for 5 shillings. So, and they're 2 guineas new. So, like that's an eighth or so, isn't it? Of the value. But isn't he terribly discourteous to his daughter?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
You know, out in the street. Well,
He knows he's wrong.
Yeah, this is she's cornered him. He's getting money somewhere, you see, but who'd give me money?
Definitely.
So
And you know, for me, I don't know if it's because I tend to react to life emotionally sometimes rather than rationally. But this little section gets my back thoroughly up. You know, here we've got this sharp-tongued guy who's very judgmental, and yet he won't even feed his own children. And it completely taints anything I've seen before and after about the man, you know?
yeah. And when you see him, he's a hail fellow well met when he's in among his pals and strangers. But here we see the mask slipping. You know? That's sort of, yeah. But as Zan said, he's been caught. I'm not quite sure what he's doing, but she knew he'd be there.
Right.
Because when Bloom was walking across the bridge, he noticed her and said, "Oh, that's Daedalus's little girl. Her dress is in flitters." So she's hanging around there for a purpose, and he's the purpose. So why else would he be walking past coming towards the auction rooms?
Right.
unless she knew that the curtains were gone.
Unless he had something from the house. Now, it might be the curtains. He may have auctioned something else.
Yeah.
And but he's arriving, and when he gets shut of her, he goes in and collects the money. Something like that. But yeah, all the Daedalus males are about to lose a lot of marks with all the readers. That's the first of them to run down.
Yeah. And and yet he's so judgmental of Bloom, and Bloom, for all his flaws, is so much better a human being.
Yeah, like
oh God, yeah.
Bloom on the other. Actually, that's very interesting because if we take the four corners of a Connaught Bridge, when Bloom was on the other corner, diagonal, he spent money to feed a seagull. And Elizabeth both spent money to feed his daughter. So I hadn't noticed.
And he handed over 5 shillings to, he also handed over 5 shillings.
The collection for the widow.
For the collection, yeah.
Yeah. Actually, that's interesting, isn't it? Because I can't remember what Daedalus contributed, but I have a funny feeling he disappeared from the conversation at collection time.
He kind of he ignored it because they were walking into the graveyard or whatever, and he ignores it.
Yeah.
And and the point also with Bloom, the point that is made is Bloom is not a politician who promises but doesn't deliver. He actually put the money down. So it wasn't a promise. He actually gave the money.
That's
gave
right.
the money, yeah.
No.
Yeah.
But I remember this thing at funerals where this was up in the north where you gave offerings and it was read out. But it wasn't for the family, it was for the church.
Yeah.
Did you have that here?
It sort of rings a bell. My mother was from County Limerick, and there was, when money was paid in, it was right off the altar, and it started at the top and worked its way down. And if your name wasn't on the list or your name was near the end, it was very socially embarrassing.
Yes.
I can't recall. It might be Easter Jews or Christmas Jews or something like that.
But I think it was it was something for funerals. And they read out, and they were called the offerings.
Yeah.
And because somebody upcasted to me or something about their family were really poor, and somebody said something to them because the father didn't pay the money.
Yeah.
So there's something in this about Dignam's funeral and people given money.
Yeah, but that's a whip round for the widow to tide them over.
Yeah, until the insurance had come in.
Was it, Joe? Yeah. Oh, right. Yeah.
This an Irish thing is, and don't let me ramble too much. I an Irish thing of throwing money into the grave as the coffin was going down. Anyone remember that? I have a recollection of it over in Galway, where my people are from Galway, and
would the money be extracted afterwards, Joe?
No. And sort of, and the joke was eventually fellas started writing checks, and trying. But I do remember seeing it out in Rahoon, actually it was, but I was, with 7 years of age. I wasn't throwing money in.
Well, Joe, I can assure you that as the descendants of thrifty people who originated in Caledonia, that it's definitely not a Scottish tradition.
No.
Back in the day, a lot of ancient cultures would have put things into the grave to assist people in the afterlife. Going back all the way to the ancient Egyptians and maybe even beyond.
Yeah. And, like valuable stuff like in a family budget, food, wine, bread, all those stuff. So it might be left over from the wild Celts of Ireland.
Yes.
But you know, I mean, now people throw, earth or clay into the grave. I never saw that happening years ago.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
that's a new thing to me, anyway.
Yeah, they used to fill in the grave while you were there, but they don't do that anymore because it was too
No,
upsetting.
but people actually throw,
A handful.
yeah. But
Yeah.
that didn't happen where I come from.
Yeah.
That's a new thing.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
whenever
I think it is a new thing, Sylvia. I don't know the origin of it or the reason for it.
I think it
It's
was just,
probably they probably saw it in the movies, and that's why they do it now.
yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So
Of course, the flowers go in,
yeah,
the single red rose and the
yeah, that's kind of
the
a
bouquet,
new,
bouquet of yellow roses, all with the meaning, different meanings.
yeah. And I mean, people now dress in clothes, but in my day, they
Yeah.
wore shrouds. There was no such thing as putting people dressing corpses in clothes.
In
That's
In
right. They used to say there's no pockets in a shroud.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
Right.
yeah. So
yeah,
it's all the traditional things.
yeah, yeah. There was a hierarchy of shrouds, you know. Sort of the Franciscan plain shroud, would be the real Christian, and then you could get more elaborate ones and all this rest of stuff.
The Jesuits wore those.
Yeah, yeah. I know my mother's funeral. My mother was a member of the Third Order of St. Francis, you see, which female department, and they had their own special blue shroud. And my mother was a very quiet person, but absolutely hundreds of women showed up wearing these Franciscan blue shrouds at her funeral.
Wow.
Amazing. She of course was married to one. So anyway, we're a long way from the Dylan's auction rooms.
That's
Sure.
what happens.
Just before we move on, I just wanted to point out the so-called intrusions. I don't like that word.
Yeah.
One
Yeah.
is the
Mhm.
one is the
Yeah.
bike race. One is Mr. Kiernan pleased with the order.
Yeah.
More of
Yeah,
that later. And then the other is the Viceregal Cavalcade.
yeah,
And I
yeah.
can't remember. Have we had an inkling of the Viceregal Cavalcade before this?
Oh yes. Yeah.
We
We
did.
saw
Okay, great. We
the
did.
gate
Okay.
of the Phoenix Park opening
Okay.
for the residents of the park opening.
All right.
I think that's them all.
I think I've just got 3 of them.
Yeah, that's where I got two. But you get so used to them, you kind of gotten used to them,
What was the first one?
The bike race.
Oh yeah, yeah.
W.E. Wiley.
Yeah,
And you
the
see the
wheelmen.
echoes lying the lap bell.
Yes.
That confused me because is he ringing a bell on the bicycle at the same time?
No, it's the lap bell. In the final lap of a race, there's a bell to tell them it's the last lap.
But at the same
Ah.
time, we've got the lackeys ringing a bell as well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I was the same, Lois. That's how I missed it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How far would they be apart, Donna? They'd be about 1,000 yards away from each other as the crow flies. You wouldn't hear, neither would hear each other's bell, but we hear both.
Got it.
And when you hear that bell, your adrenaline flows. Those of you with an athletics background will know. If you're running a mile, you'll lose track of the laps, 4 laps.
Oh yeah.
You hear that bell, all your adrenaline goes boom, all the tiredness disappears. Only 1 lap left.
Yeah, they're making a burst for the line.
That's it, yeah. And we'll meet W.E. Wiley. Well, we won't meet W.E. Wiley. We'll meet his admiring female friend later.
Right. In Nausicaa. Right. Okay. And so Joel, I just sort of did a word search. I'm getting one hit for one previous reference to the cavalcade, and it's after where McCoy dodges the banana peel.
Right.
Are there others, or is that the first reference and this is the second?
I
But
think
there's not something in the pub You know when they're in Barney Kiernan's pub, is there not something? No, no,
That'll be later.
Yeah, but that's
Later,
afterwards.
further along.
no. Yeah, yeah.
I think you've got them all, Dave. I think that's
Okay,
the only
sounds good.
open to correction. Like always.
No.
And
You
it-
need an,
It probably would.
yes.
It
You
would
need
be
an
the second one
accountant.
because the park gate is at the edge. So
Right.
they'd have had to leave the house first.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And who's Mr. Kiernan? Is he Barney or is he somebody else?
He's up on Thomas Street. As you know, forgive me, I'm working on memory. Thomas Street. He's the traveling salesman for the tea company, and he's I can't remember the name of the place where he's been in, but he's pleased he booked an order. I think he's going to walk down Watling Street then.
Oh, right.
It's in Sylvia, it's a different spelling. Barney Kiernan and Mr. Kernan.
Oh, yeah. It's got an I in it. Yeah.
And if you want to see more of Mr. Kernan, I believe he's the featured article in the Dubliner story Grace.
Yes, the man who bites his tongue in the fall.
Yes.
Yeah. There's Bill.
Hi, Bill.
Yeah.
Hi.
Okay.
But we better move on, folks.
Over to you, Anne.
Okay. From the sundial towards James's Gate walked Mr. Kiernan, pleased with the order he had booked for Pullman's Roberts, boldly along James's Street, past Shackleton's offices. Got round him all right. How do you do, Mr. Crimmins? First rate, sir. I was afraid you might be up in your other establishment in Pimlico. How are things going? Just keeping alive. Lovely weather we are having. Yes, indeed. Good for the country. Those farmers are always grumbling. I'll just take a thimbleful of your best gin, Mr. Crimmins. A small gin, sir. Yes, sir. Terrible affair, that General Slocum explosion. Terrible, terrible. 1,000 casualties and heart-rending scenes. Men trampling down women and children. Most brutal thing. What did they say was the cause? Spontaneous combustion, most scandalous revelation. Not a single lifeboat would float, and the fire hose all burst. What I can't understand is how the inspectors even allowed a boat like that. Now you were talking straight, Mr. Crimmins. You know why? Palm oil. Is that a fact? Without a doubt. Well, now look at that. And America, they say, is the land of the free. I thought we were bad here. Next, please.
I smiled at him. America, I said quietly, just like that. What is it? The sweepings of every country, including our own. Isn't that true? That's a fact. Graft, my dear sir. Well, of course, where there's money going, there's always someone to pick it up. Saw him looking at my frock coat. Dress does it. Nothing like a dressy appearance. Bowls them over. Hello, Simon, Father Cowley said. How are things? Hello, Bob, old man, Mr. Daedalus answered, stopping. Mr. Kernan halted and preened himself before the sloping mirror of Peter Kennedy, hairdresser. Stylish coat, beyond a doubt. Scott of Dawson Street. Well worth the half sovereign I gave Neary for it. Never built under 3 guineas. Fits me down to the ground. Some Kildare Street Club toff had it, probably. John Mulligan, the manager of the Hibernian Bank, gave me a very sharp eye yesterday on Carlisle Bridge, as if he remembered me. Must dress the character for those fellows. Knight of the road, gentlemen. And now, Mr. Crimmins, may we have the honor of your custom again, sir? The cup that cheers but not inebriates, as the old saying has it. North Wall and Sir Rogerson's Quay, with hulls and anchor chains, sailing westward, sailed by a skiff, a crumpled throwaway, rocked on the ferry wash. Elijah is coming. Mr. Kernan glanced in farewell at his image. High color, of course. Grizzled mustache. Returned Indian officer. Bravely he bore his stumpy body forward on spatted feet, squaring his shoulders. Is that Ned Lambert's brother over the way, Sam? What? Yes, he is as like it as damn it. No, the windscreen of that motor car in the sun there, just a flash like that. Damn like him. Hot spirit of juniper juice warmed his vitals and his breath. Good drop of gin that was. His frock tails winked in bright sunshine to his fat strut. Next.
Down there, Emmett was hanged, drawn and quarter. Greasy black rope, dogs licking the blood off the street when the Lord Lieutenant's wife drove by in her noddy. Bad times those were. Well, well. Over and done with. Great toppers too. 4 bottle men. Let me see. Is he buried in St. Michan's? Or no, there was a midnight burial in Glasnevin. Corpse brought in through a secret door in the wall. Tignan was there now. Went out in a puff. Well, well. Better turn down now. Make a detour. Mr. Kernan turned and walked down the slope of Watling Street by the corner of Guinness Visitors' Waiting Room. Outside the Dublin Distillers Company stores, an outside car without fare or Jarvey stood. The reins knotted to the wheel. Damn dangerous thing. Some Tipperary bosom endangering the lives of citizens. Runaway horse. Dennis Green and its tomes, weary of waiting an hour in John Henry Menton's office, led his wife over O'Connell Bridge, bound for the office of Messer Collis and Ward. Mr. Kernan approached Island Street. Times of the Troubles. Must ask Ned Lambert to lend me some of those reminiscences of Sir Jonah Barrington. When you look back on it now, all now in a kind of retrospective arrangement. Gaming at dailies. No card sharping then. One of those fellas got his hand nailed to the table by a dagger. Somewhere here, Lord Edward Fitzgerald escaped from Major Sir Stables behind Moyer House. Damn good gin that was. Fine dashing young nobleman. Good stock, of course. That ruffian, that sham squire with his violet gloves gave him away. Course, they were on the wrong side. They rose in dark and evil days. Fine poem that is, Ingram. They were gentlemen. Ben Dollard does sing that ballad touchingly. Masterly rendition. At the siege of Ross did my father fall. Next.
Yeah, you might as well finish. There's just a few lines. So yeah.
Can't see because I'm reading it from a cavalcade, an easy trot along Pembroke Quay past, outriders leaping in their saddles, frock coats, cream sunshades. Mr. Kernan hurried forward, blowing pursily. His Excellency, too bad. Just missed that by a hair. Damn it. What a pity.
That first sentence, from the sundial towards James's Gate, that sundial is still there. And you know, it's an island in the middle of the road where 3 roads meet, and you can stand there long enough, work out the time.
Oh.
And all that then makes sense. That whole episode or that little clip makes sense.
Okay.
And the pub he's coming out of is just across the road, and then you can go down Watling Street, down the slope, and Guinness, of course, is still there. And you pass by where Robert Emmett was a young man, a revolutionary Trinity student, and he was executed for a failed rebellion in 1803.
Yeah, after the Union, yeah, Joe.
And it's on their mind in 1904 because they've just had 100 years commemoration the year before. So it comes up a good bit. But it says there he was hanged, drawn, and quartered. He wasn't hanged, drawn, and quartered. He was hanged and beheaded. And nobody knows where his grave is.
Oh.
The arrangements are unknown. The authorities were determined that they would not become a place of pilgrimage.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Is that reference to James's Gate the actual brewery, Joe?
Yeah, it is. It is James's Gate. There. You walk by the door of the brewery.
And is the sundial in the middle of the street?
Yeah, be about 30 yards from the gate.
Okay.
Just where the where the Lewis, where the Lewis comes up from the quay.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and then swings
There's
right.
a divide in the road there.
Yeah, well, just go left to about 10, 15 yards, and it's there.
And not as far as James's Hospital.
Oh gosh, no, not in that direction. Go the other direction.
I'm sorry.
Right,
Yeah.
you go left, and it's not immediately obvious. You have to be standing beside it, then you see it.
I must go looking for it because I often pass that way and I've never seen it.
Oh, me too. A fellow from New York told me about it. He brought me, showed me, and he showed
That's
me.
brilliant.
Yeah, it's amazing. And he knows the pub across the way where Kiernan is supposed to have got his order. And it's kind of little on the kind of side, and I said, should we go in and ask about it? And he said, I wouldn't go in there unless you're going to drink.
It's not an information office.
Yeah, oh yeah, yeah. But there you go. And then see Watling Street. Tim Finnegan lived in Watling Street. It's the song Finnegan's Wake. So, you kind of all the Joyce juices flow when you make that. Just take that one page, well, 2 pages of Ulysses and walk around with it for about an hour. You keep finding things.
And is there a plaque to Robert? Is there a plaque to Robert Emmett there?
Can't remember.
No,
I don't think there is, Joe.
You see, there's even an argument as to where he was executed.
They say that he was hanged in front of the church.
Yeah, that's what I was.
That would be the grounds of the church.
Yeah. So you'd have. I think there's a number of spots where it might have been. You'd have to check each of them for a plaque, but I wouldn't. I'm not aware of one anyway.
No, nor I.
So it's a very old part of Dublin up there. It's a great spot.
You're down near the Liberties.
Yeah, you sure are. Yeah.
Where is that? Sorry, I was offline there. Where is that, Joe, that you're talking about?
Thomas Street, James's Street.
Okay, what part of Dublin?
Yeah.
By Guinness's.
Okay, Guinness. Okay.
Yeah.
It's interesting. It's interesting how much in Mr. Kernan's head and mind we are throughout this whole episode. It's I don't know if it strikes me as being unusual in that regard, in that it's not Bloom, it's not Stephen.
Yeah. And there is the use of the I. I smiled at him.
Yeah.
America, I said quietly. That threw me off. Is the I, we're talking Kernan now?
Yeah.
See,
What's that point, Lois? Because the section starts out in third person,
Yeah.
switches to first person, very very
Yeah.
surreptitiously slips into first person, and it threw me as well. And I find to pick up just maybe to add to Bill's point, in the conversation between Kernan and Mr. Crimmins, I find it difficult to figure out who is saying what.
Right. Exactly.
Well, a lot of it's taking place with that I said America or something. I mean, that's all going on in his mind. That's not first person speech or anything.
Yeah.
It's all in his head.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So, Bill, I just to see your point. So I smiled at him. America, it's italicized in my edition.
Yeah.
I said quietly, just like that. What is it? The sweepings of every country, including our own. Isn't that true? That's a fact. So are we moving between something he's thinking and something he's saying? Like I'm confused as to why some of this is in italics and some of it's in just regular font.
I think he's thinking all of that. I smiled at him, and then he's thinking America, I said quietly, just like that. What is it? This thing, and that's a fact. Graft, my dear sir. Well, of course, where there's money going, there's always someone to pick it up. So I'm looking at my frock coat. That's all going on in his head.
Yeah, it's all freestyle discourse. Part of it is reported, and part of it is indirect. So but
then we have the intrusion of Simon and Father Cole. That's an episode to come, but this is just an intrusion. This is happening at the same time, but in a different place. Hello, Simon, and hello, Bob. And then it gets back to Mr. Kernan, and it's all third person. He halted and preened himself, but then it gets directly into his mind again, because stylish coat, beyond a doubt, that's all he's thinking, all that. That's not the editor anymore.
But that's a change in style, you see, and something we're going to see more and more of, that the narrator begins to be infected by the thoughts of a character. I don't know if infected is the right word. Let's say affected by the thoughts of a character, and begin to blur the distinction between narrator and character. But also what's happening here is that we're beginning to be inside the heads of lots of people. Up to this, we're inside Bloom, we're inside Stephen. Now it's every dog and devil in the street. We're in, which is great.
Yeah.
Not including Gary Young.
Yeah.
Ink could be spilt on that, but it's not in this episode. Don't mention Gary Owen.
I love all. But do you notice? But did you notice? I mean, way back there was the throwaway crumpled thing, and again, and that's up again,
and it's back. Yes,
it is. Yes. As our second intrusion. Good for you, Sylvia. That's right.
Yeah. But it was a way back, and of course, throwaway is the name of the horse.
Yeah. And it's
I can't find it.
It seems to have moved across to the North Wall now. John.
Yeah, Sir John Rodzinski.
Yeah, it's heading out to the bay.
Yeah, but it hasn't traveled very far, so it must be, compared to what it was doing. So the tide might be turning or something, or else it's only a millisecond since we last sort of saw it.
It may not have been very much time since we saw it last. That's true.
Yeah.
It wasn't in that commie, the Father commie. I don't know.
Yeah. We had it there. At the throwaway.
Yeah.
I can't even find it now.
Draw a diagram of all the cuts. I call them cuts because that's
brilliant.
But to draw a diagram and just see how many and how often,
and the cavalcade is trotting or.
And Dennis Breen and his wife is another cut.
Right.
Yeah, and poor old Kernan, is disappointed that he just missed. He just missed.
Yeah.
It's the hill. It's the slope,
But
and he just missed a good view of the cavalcade. Damn it!
Oh.
He said.
Yeah, it's interesting that Kiernan thinks about Ben Dollard singing the song that Ben Dollard will sing
Yeah.
in the Sirens episode.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, there we are.
Mm.
You can see how it can take you up to 6 years to read this book in a group.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's great doing it like this.
Me too.
Yeah, I do
So,
too.
Yes, absolutely.
much-
We're learning so
so-
much.
there's
Yeah.
so much missed, just doing long chunks, because then you forget, because there's so much detail in it.
Right.
Yeah, it was a good idea.
Oh, there's
Good idea. I believe
Yeah, you're
Bill
back.
Kennedy is the one that made the suggestion for that.
It's an obvious one. I can't take a lot of credit for it, but I'm glad we're doing.
But you
I'm glad you agreed.
voiced it, so
I'm glad you all agreed to it because I think it does add a lot, especially to this episode, this section.
yeah. And what's was it in this? Oh, I just thought that was really graphic and upsetting. Was the dogs licking Robert Emmett's
Oh, yeah.
blood?
Hmm.
Oh, I just find that really emotional reading that.
Mhm.
May I ask what page we are on now?
We are on page
98.
238.
We're moving to the 13th of the sections, starting with Stephen Dedlin watched.
In the modern library, it's
Are they a good boy? No, I'm right there. I'm
Okay.
somehow took a wild guess and
We haven't got very far.
yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
We buried a few people the last one.
I'm a big fan of the idea of the journey is the destination.
Yeah.
Very
true.
In terms of the dogs licking Emmett's blood, that is that's I think quite significant in Gaelic custom. It's like an insult. If I remember coming across a description of a chieftain being executed, and someone took his head up and drank the blood from the head. Gory as it may sound, but the woman said the ground wasn't fit to drink his blood. He was such a great man.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a different perspective. We wouldn't think like that nowadays.
That's the old Viking thing, right? To drink from the skull of your enemies.
Quite possibly, this was a Celtic thing I'm talking about, Duncan, but
Yes,
probably
yes.
went across cultures,
Well, as someone who has ancient ties to the island of Orkney, when I finally got aware enough to look at where the Orkney Islands are, I went, oh, I'm not just Scottish.
That's right. That's right.
It's true. It's true.
Because I think the genetic makeup of the Scottish, there's a significant Norwegian or Viking input to their DNA.
Yeah, it's really to the Orkneys, and I think it's the Shetlands. I mean, it's just
Shetlands are north of the Orkneys, yes.
Yeah, it's just a hop, skip, and jump from.
That's right.
And they used to belong to Scandinavia, didn't they?
Yes, I
that's
think
where the
that's
Jarl. We had the Jarl thing in Finnegan's Wake. Well, the Earls in Norwegian, I believe, were called Jarls, Jarl.
Oh yes, yes, yes.
Well, since we're going down wormholes, here's another one that might interest the people from the Emerald Isle. When I was in Iceland, walking along the street of Reykjavik, I could have sworn at times I was in Dublin because there were these red-haired, freckle-faced Icelanders. And it's because, and this ties into your point, Duncan, it's because the Norwegian chiefs on their way to Iceland stopped off in Ireland and purchased Irish slave women.
Mm-hmm.
And their descendants now are Icelandic, but they definitely don't look Norwegian. They look quite Irish.
Yeah, that's correct, Dave. Yeah, in fact, I don't think they even purchased them. I think they even took them. But
They did.
you're right about the heritage.
No. Yeah, I thought it was very, very interesting.
And if you meet people from Newfoundland,
Right.
they've got Waterford accents. Waterford.
Yeah.
Well, but they would have been, they would have come for the fishing.
That's
From Waterford. They weren't slaves of the Norwegians or of the Icelandic.
no.
The Irish were enslaved and brought to Iceland and then became part of the family and are married. And I think there was just a recent DNA study of the Orkney Islands and some of the other islands off of Scotland. And I think they said that genetically they're almost all Norwegian and not Scottish.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Yeah, and even the name Waterford of Wasser Fjord, it's
fjord, right.
Not the fjord.
fjord.
I was in a taxi in St. John's and I was speaking to the driver, and he had the thickest Waterford accent that you ever heard. And he told me he'd never been outside St. John's.
Yeah.
I was in Canada many years ago, and the first morning this girl served us at breakfast. I was in a hotel, and she said to myself and the guy I was with, "Oh, you guys," she said, "you sound just like my grandmother." And the grandmother was from Newfoundland.
Like further than that.
Of course, the correct Canadian pronunciation is Newfoundland.
Or Newfies.
Yeah.
Yeah, Newfies, yeah.
We've strayed a long way, haven't we?
Yep.
And I think that's part of the wonder of this book, isn't it, Donna?
Oh, absolutely.
and
Wormholes forever.
And the Irish for Newfoundland is Tallavaneish, which means land of the fish.
Mm-hmm.
A lovely name in Irish.
Mm.
That's where you have I read the Icelandic sagas in Old Norse. It's one of the classes I did in college. I read Old Norse, and they talk about the Skelligs, who were the native Canadians, the Aboriginal Canadians, and they were known. A word made up. I guess it means skin wearing because the Native Americans wore deer, caribou, or elk hide costumes, so they became known as the Skelligs.
How do you spell that, Bill?
Skelligs, I think.
That's very like the Skelligs in outside on the west coast of Kerry. The Skelligs. There are two rocks there where the monks made it.
Yeah.
This is a great discussion because this is a book so much about language, and here we are, immersing ourselves in it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Joyce just loved the language. I mean, he just plays with it so much in this book, and I think he may be smiling on us from above as we waltz down the linguistic lane ourselves here. I think it's delightful.
Absolutely.
Ready for another section?
Yeah.
Okay.
You're up, Jim.
Okay. Stephen Dedalus watched through the webbed window the lapidary's fingers prove a time-dull chain. Dust webbed the window and the show trays. Dust darkened the toiling fingers with their vulture nails. Dust slept on dull coils of bronze and silver. Lozenges of cinnabar, on rubies, leprous and winged dark stones. Born all in the dark wormy earth, cold specks of fire, evil lights shining in the darkness, where fallen archangels flung the stars of their brows, muddy swine snouts, hens, root and root, grip and rest them. She dances in a foul gloom where gum burns with garlic. A sailorman rust-bearded sips from the beaker rum and eyes her, a long and sea-fed silent rut. She dances, capers, wagging her sowish haunches, and her hips on her gross belly flapping a ruby egg. Old Russell, with his smeared chamois rag burnished again his gem, turned it and held it to the point of his Moses beard. Grandfather Abe gloating on a stolen hoard. And you who wrest old images from the burial earth, the brain-sick words of sophists, antithesists, a lore of drugs, orient and immortal, wheat standing from everlasting to everlasting. Two old women, fresh from their whiff of their brenny, trudged through Irish town, along London Bridge Road, one with sanded umbrella, one with a midwife's bag, in which 11 cockles rolled. The whir of flapping leathern bands and hum of dynamos from the powerhouse urged Stephen to be on. Beingless beings stop, throb, always without you, and the throb always within. Your heart you sing of, I between them, where, between two roaring worlds, where they swirl, I shattered them one and both, but stun myself too in the blow. Shatter me, you who can. Bawd and butcher were the words I say. Not yet a while. And look around. Next, please.
Yes, quite true. Very large and wonderful, and keeps famous time. You say right, sir. A Monday morning. 'Twas so indeed. Stephen went down Bedford Row, the handle of the ash clacking against his shoulder blade. In Clois's window, a faded 1860 print of Heenan boxing sayers held his eye. Staring brackets with square hats stood round the roped prize ring. The heavy weights in tight loincloths proposed gently to each other his bulbous fists, and they are throbbing heroes' hearts. He turned and halted by the slanted book cart. "Twopence each," the huckster said, "4 for sixpence. Tattered pages, The Irish Beekeeper, Life and Miracles of the Cure of Ars, Pocket Guide to Killarney. I might find here one of my pawned school prizes, Stefano Dedalo, Alumno Optimo, Palmem Ferente." Father Conmee, having read his little hours, walked through the hamlet of Donnycarry, murmuring vespers. "Binding too good, probably. What is this? 8th and 9th book of Moses, secret of all secrets, seal of King David, thumb pages, read and read. Who's passed here before me? How to soften chapped hands. Recipe for white wine vinegar. How to win a woman's love. For me, this. Say the following talisman 3 times over with hands folded. Si il hilo nabracadabra femininum, amor mi solo, sanctus, amen. Who wrote this? Charms and invocations of the most blessed abbot, Peter Solanka, to all true believers divulged. As good as any other abbot's charms, as mumbling yokums. Down, baldy noddle, or we'll wool your wool. What are you doing here, Stephen? Dilly's high shoulders and shabby dress. Shut the book quick, don't let's see. What are you doing? Stephen said. A Stuart face of none such Charles, lank locks falling at its sides. It glowed as she crouched, feeding the fire with broken boots. I told her of Paris. Late lie abed under a quilt of old overcoats, fingering a pinchbeck bracelet. Dan Kelly's token. Nabracadabra femininum. What have you there? Stephen asked. I bought it from the other cart for a penny, Dilly said, laughing nervously. Is it any good? My eyes, they say she has. Do others see me so? Quick, far and daring, shadow of my mind. He took the coverless book from her hand, Chardinal's French primer. What'd she buy that for? He asked. What did you buy that for? He asked. To learn French? She nodded, reddening and closing tight her lips. Show no surprise, quite natural. Here, Stephen said. It's all right. My Maggie doesn't pawn it on you. I suppose all my books are gone. Some, Dilly said. We had to. She is drowning. Egg and bite. Save her egg and bite. All against us. She will drown me with her eyes, hair. 9 coils of seaweed hair around me, my heart, my soul, salt green death. We, egg and bite of Inwit, Inwit's egg and bite. Misery, misery.
Mm-hmm.
It's really amazing to me. I've read this so many times, but I think slowing down this way and reading it carefully, once again, we get into Stephen's creative process. He's telling stories to himself about just about everything that's happening. So he's in front of the pawn shop, and then all of a sudden he goes off on this fantasy of his, she dances in a foul gloom where gum burns with garlic.
Mm-hmm.
This is like he's thinking about what's going to come, what he will write later. This is my take on the book, what he will write later in the episode in Nighttown with the strange dream that anyway, it's just so. And then he sees the 2 women from earlier in the morning once again, who are not midwives, but just cockle pickers.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And are they really cockle pickers, or is he just reinventing them here as now, instead of there being stillbirth in the bag, there are 11 cockles. Are there, or is he just imagining that? Just as later on, or in the newspaper office when he's telling the story of the 2 at the top of Nelson's Pillar, he's given them an entirely different biography and history. It's so amazing.
Does he see them physically, or is this a mental thing? Like I have this marked as
an insert.
Call it as a cut. I think you called it, Joe. I prefer that to intrusions. I've got it marked as a cut.
They're in Irish. They're in Irish town.
Yeah.
Which I assume is outside Dublin.
Sloat agrees with you, Dave. He calls it an interpolation. So he thinks that it's another momentary flash.
And Joe, this is a supplementary question. Did you rob a Brinks truck so that you could afford to buy Sloat? I'm teasing you. I didn't buy Sloat because the book is about $200 or $300 here in Canada.
My defense lawyer handles all those queries.
I actually asked him on Facebook about the new edition.
Right.
And both he and Peter Crisp told me that the new edition is much more reasonably priced.
At €50.
Okay. Is it €50?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But it's paperback. It doesn't have the splendor of the other one.
Yeah. I think I was implying. I thought that the earlier edition, the print was for me, so ridiculously small that even though I got a copy, it was impossible. I can't even read it.
Yeah. It's got twice as many pages